I know you think you might be seeing triple, but yes, this is the third installment of Kinfire Delve. I am thrilled to bring you Callous Lab. Now, this is again the third in the Kinfire Delve series of the 1 to 2 player cooperative dungeon delve game. Again, so excited. So I've got the other two out here. I've got Scorn Stockade and I've got Vainglory's Grotto, and I will spend a lot of my time in this video highlighting the features that I really like about the third installment and doing a little bit of, I guess, highlighting or identifying the differences with this game and the other, but how they all use the same structure. So if you have not seen those other videos, have no fear. I'm just going to do a brief overview of what the game is, how it works, and then show you some of the cards, because these cards, again, are just gorgeous. So let me just jump into the two characters that are new to the Delve series, but still taken from the Kinfire Chronicles world. So in this game, we've got Valora Helmsman and Roland Wordforger. Let me show you these figures. Here's the backside of his card, all nice and shiny and glittery. I just love the look of these things. This is Roland Wordforger, True Friend. Each time you boost with that particular symbol, which will show up on his cards in the deck, the boosted seeker may draw a card. That's fantastic because boosting is a phenomenal action you take as a support when it's not your turn. And so it's a way for you to, again, work together. This is cooperative. And then the next one is Valora Helmsman. Here she is, Guardian from Afar. For each arrow you play as an action or boost, you may add 1 progress to any challenge not currently being attempted. And then this is her beautiful backside, her card, unique, love the artwork. So these are the characters, and these are their beautiful lanterns. Again, every character in the deck, every character in here, everyone has their lantern, and it has that unique look, and it has a totally unique way of playing. And white is wild. So if you ever see the white color, that means you get to make it any of the 3 basic colors. This is Snipe, Relentless Hunter, Snipe the Prey. Do not roll this turn. X is equal to any value from 0 to 7, your choice. This is insanely good. Her lantern is great, but characters do not start with their lanterns activated. They have to activate them, and once used, they have to flip them face down. They're not part of their deck or their hand. And here's Roland's. So that's the back of his lantern. Again, really beautiful. Purity. Fire's Cleansing. Before this action, discard as many cards as you wish. 1 per that symbol again in your discard pile. So that's fantastic, and it does damage of 5. And it is wild. It's white, which is, again, fantastic. So every character in the deck or in the game is wholly unique and fights in a particular way that none of the other characters do, and they paired them together incredibly well, I have to say. So Roland is paired with Valora, and this is Roland's deck. These are all the cards. I mean, again, with the gorgeousness, I kind of just want to frame everything from every Kinfire box and game and experience that I've had. And these are all 100% unique cards. And you're seeing white is wild, blue, or maybe 2 different lead colors, green and red. So those are the 3 colors that you are essentially using from your hand to fight. You are diving down a well of these cards. This is the massive card deck. There are some duplicates in here of the cards, but they all have the same colors, blue, red, and green. So here is the backside. This is the artwork for Callous Lab. This is Callous. All of these had a unique villain that fought in a particular way and had a very, very unique look. So this is Callous, and these are going to be the cards that we draw from. There are 4 around each side of the baddie. You cannot fight the baddie until you dive all the way down the well, essentially depleting the entire stack. When you go to refill a space that's empty because you discarded or defeated the card, that's when it triggers the end. And then these new cards are going to show up. These cards right here. And so these cards are going to essentially show up and protect the 4 sides of the villain in which you need to fight them to get through. You need to fight all of these. And hopefully you can discard them in a way that allows you to make Callous vulnerable to, in this case, blue actions. And so you still only have like one way in. It's not always in. Just really, really cool. I mean, these cards are dynamite. Look at that. Immortality. Looks terrifying. The wings and the tail. So these cards then go out in these spaces, and then you have to find the vulnerability to then reveal one of the 3 selected Callous cards. So every time you play this game specifically, and all previous games, you have 3, and you don't know which one you get because you shuffle it up and then you place it face down right there. So Callous is going to have this particular rule imposed on this game, this Delve game. Seeking a cure, place 10 progress on Callous at the start of the game. If it's removed from him before you reach the bottom of the well, lose the game. So this essentially is setting a timer for players to add tokens if they can, which there are ways for players to add tokens to Callous, but there are also ways that players are going to lose those progress tokens, and in particular it's going to be these exhaust cards. Because players have a hand of cards, and in a 2-player game, you have 7. And once you have no more cards in your hand, because you have played them all in previous turns, you do not draw up at the end of your turn or at the start of your turn. If you have no more cards to play, you become exhausted. And you will flip over one of these 6 exhaust cards and then draw back up to your hand limit, which is 7 in a 2-player game. So the system of playing your cards, becoming exhausted at some point, and then triggering one of these cards is the way the game works. It's the same system in all of them. But I think that these exhaust cards are really cool because it's all connected to the characters and Callous and these progress. So here is one that says, life leached away, remove 2 progress from Callous, or 10 if you're at the bottom of the well. Then shuffle this card back into the deck, so you might lose 2 again. Here's another one, Looming Doom. If you've reached the bottom of the well, suffer 2 damage, then shuffle this card back into the deck. And players have this die that is a 10-sider, and they start with 10 hit points collectively. There is no individual life in this. You will share those points, and then you'll go down. You'll go down. We lost a point. Now we're at 9, and so forth. Here are cards that just hurt players. Callous grows bored. Each time you discard 1 or more cards from your hand, discard 1 extra card. So now you have these persistent exhausted effects, and they will suffer damage. And then Callous, you get a choice of either suffering damage or hurting Callous. And then the last one is Drained, which is removing 1 progress or 5 if you're at the bottom. So these exhaust cards are really, really tough. They're tough to overcome. I find them to be really challenging. Now, compared to some of the other exhaust cards, I thought that Scorn Stockade did the exhaust incredibly well. So if I take a look at those exhaust cards here, we have these guys that say, if you're playing with particular characters, which I found to be really fascinating. So it says here, if you have the keyword estranged and guilt-ridden in play, lose the game. If Core ever turns the lantern, lose the game. So this is your activation for your lantern. And so all of them have this, if this and this, it's a different combination, and then if that character does something. And so it really gives players tangible, specific things to focus on and to avoid. And I found that to be just really, really fascinating. And all 6 of the characters are here. And I think what they were doing in Scorn Stockade was planning for combinations of characters and having, let's say, Roland and Valora dive into the well of Scorn Stockade as opposed to Callous Lab, because they're in here as well. If Roland plays Scholar's Heart and fails the challenge, lose the game. If Valora, who's here, plays Noble Education and fails a challenge, lose the game. So I started to see that they were putting together these combinations and these cards in a way that, yes, lets you mix and match characters. So if you really enjoyed a particular character from Scorn Stockade, and then you liked another one, let's say Core from Kinfire Delve Vainglory's Grotto, you can do that. And they can play the different wells. And you can play with those different sets of cards that have not only the villain, but also the cards that surround the villain and protect them, and the exhaust cards that go with it. So at this point, I kind of just want to show you the challenges, because the challenges are insanely cool. So, for example, here's how the cards work. On your turn, what you do is you pick a card. So let's say Velora picks this card. She needs to get a 7 threshold of damage to the triplets in order to succeed. And you'll see the trophy is the success. And this is going to be your prize or your boon if you succeed. If you fail, though, you take this, which is a damage. And that just means dive 4 cards down into the deck and discard those 4 cards. So the most interesting thing about this game is you may not even see some of these cards. They may not come out. And there are some cards in here that say things like, if you've done this, then you win the game. There's one card in there that says that. And there are 2 cards in here that say, if you've done this, though, you automatically lose the game, which is just fascinating. And I've never won or lost in any of the games with those immediate triggers. I've always either lost, fighting the baddie, or beaten the baddie, and essentially, dived all the way down to the bottom and won with my teammate. Then you have this trigger at the bottom. Every other copy of the triplets gains +7 difficulty. So if you have more of the triplets out there because you are avoiding them, then they get stronger the more there are. And right now there's just 1 of these triplets. So what a player is going to do is they have 7 cards at the beginning of the game. So I'm just going to grab these. There's my 7 for Velora. I'm going to grab 7 for Roland because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because when someone's the active player, they will play a lead card, and then the supporter, well, they don't have to play a card, but they probably want to if they want to reach that 7 threshold. And then their fellow player can play up to 2 boost cards. They don't have to play any. And then after that, the player is going to roll these 4 dice and add any of the matching color, which in this case, green is our lead color. So right now, Velora only has 2 cards that are green lead. So let's take a look at them, because those are going to be the cards she's going to use to go after the triplets. She plays Velora's Bow, perhaps, for 2 damage. And it says here, if this card is in your hand, add +1 to the value of any bow you play as an action. So if she keeps this card, she can play Acid Arrow and then add this card, add 1 to the value of any arrow you play as an action. So let's have her play maybe Acid Arrow. While it's only 1, it says here, after this action, place 2 extra progress on the challenge you chose for the Guardian from Afar ability. Which then reminds us we've got to check out Guardian from Afar. For each arrow you play as an action or boost, you may add 1 progress to any challenge not currently being attempted. So these are really cool chains and connections and really big juicy turns. So let's say she plays Acid Arrow. Okay, so she's going to play Acid Arrow down on the triplets. I'm going to put this, let's have Roland's card right here. We're going to have her play right here. So Acid Arrow is the card. Maybe we'll pop those over there. So that's 1 damage. We're going to take 1, put it on the triplets. Done. It says here though, if this card is in your hand, add 1 to the value of any arrow you play. We have the arrow symbol. So that's Velora's Bow. She does that because that card is in her hand, which is fantastic. Okay, then it says after the action, place 2 extra on the progress plus the 1 here on whichever one we're not attempting. So let's see if we have, Planetarium is a really good one, because what it does is if Roland can finish it and do really well, it says, if completed, draw 1 card for every excess progress on this challenge. So if he can get more than 7, that's going to give him cards to draw into his hand. And cards are players' lives. It is their strength. It is, you want to avoid being exhausted. So the cool thing about Roland is Roland supports teammates always. Roland is, as we saw here, a true friend. everything at the bottom, everything here. Let's look at this. This is the banner for the boost section. Now, this is if you play the card as an action, but this is if you support someone else. So we're going against a combat. This has a trigger or keyword puzzle. And the puzzle is the Callous cipher. You'll see the keyword puzzle above that. So it's better if you play it against something that has that keyword, but also he has white on everything. There is no color coding to his. So that means he's wild. He can play any of these. And they have a +1 for this hurt symbol. And it says down here, each time you boost with one of those symbols, which is what we saw at the bottom, the boosted seeker may draw a card. So let's play one of these with the boost symbol. And that means that he'll be able to draw a card. So let's see here. Now we've narrowed it down to these three. So we've got this one is +2 with the boost symbol. That's great. This one is a +1 with that little symbol. And then this guy says +1 with that particular symbol. So at this point, I would just simply say, play one of the cards that you don't want to play as the action, because when you play it, it's out of your hand. So let's just say we have Test of Metal, and he's going to play that out of his hand. And it's going to be a +1 here. And then he's going to, because of that symbol, be able to draw a card from his deck and put it into his hand. And so now he's got all these cards. Now she's going to roll. This is Valora. She's going to roll the dice, and it looks like, oh my gosh, she almost got it if I'd played something that had just a little bit more oomph. Now, this is the result. I almost could have gotten it, but this is a green success. White is a wild success, green a success, and then blue. So they're going to put 3 out here, and that essentially says 6 points out of the 7. It's not a success, but the failure is losing 1 hit point from 10 down to 9. So while it wasn't a success, they worked together, they played their cards. Roland is a fantastic booster, has the ability, we use the special abilities. These are all the time abilities that Roland and Valora get to use on their turn. I mean, this game is just endlessly replayable with the combinations and with the choices. Again, the decks are so interesting and so unique. That is it. It's going to go to the next player. We're just going to pass it off, and then Roland's going to get to play. I mean, I just love it, right? There's so much here. There's so much here. And there are so many interesting cards. So let's just take a peek at these cards. Okay, so I've got Fireball. Really, really good damage. Love the images. Again, boosts are separate from the actions, but it also has that cool ability. Just looks so cool. Hammer and Tongs, it's a double card, so you have that double coding for colors. If you fail a challenge, ignore the penalty. That's a really great boost opportunity. Loyal and True, this is after the action, unless your hand is empty, you may return this card to your hand. You just essentially get to keep playing it. Firebolt, fantastic. +2 for each of those symbols on the card up here that you discard. Dynamite, Meteor Throw, blue and red. You can see that a lot of these cards for Roland are blue and red. They are those kind of combat cards. Fantastic. We've got Foxfire and Ingenious. I mean, Ingenious is a wild. It's that white color. Again, I really love all the text. I love all the artwork. Every single card is going to have this. They are just, again, dynamite. Now, I will tell you, I played Roland in the Kinfire Chronicles Night's Fall and adored him. I adored playing with him. And I had to say that I wanted to try out Valora, and I was really impressed with Valora. It's super, super hard to not just be addicted to playing with Fane, the Bard from Scorn Stockade. That's one reason why this is my favorite of the 3 boxes. I think he's just dynamite. I really, really enjoyed playing him. I mean, Naz from this is fantastic. Core is just phenomenal. The 6 characters are just, again, fantastic. And the decks are so unique, and the artwork is beautiful. Beautiful. Even the box lid where you play and you roll the dice into, beautiful. Like there's a picture of the whole team in there, all 6 of them sitting around a campfire, having a fantastic time. So I'm super, super happy to wrap up this trilogy, this 3 set of the Kinfire Delve, the card diving, dungeon delving game that is cooperative for 1 to 2 players, and you can also have 3 and 4 if you combine boxes, if you have more than 1 box. So just again, yes, I mean, yes, yes, yes. And I love the system of having the dice at the end. There are certain systems where if you roll the darkness instead of the Kinfire symbol, which is the black instead of the white, some really bad things happen. So you have to be aware for that, or prepared for that. But it also is that wild. Just so much to love here. So thank you, and just gotta try them out. They're so affordable, so accessible, super shareable, and I love the cooperative nature of it. Absolutely adore it. So that's going to be it for Callous Lab, what it offers, and what it does a little bit different from the other 2 Delve games. But I'm very excited to trade out the characters and play with different Delves, different Wells, and different villains with different combinations of cards. That's my next challenge to myself and for my gaming group, which is, again, me and my husband. So that's going to be it, folks. I'll see you later. Bye.